thank our panel for taking time.
University.
As Jim said, a very mobile wealth.
But of course, if you look at where we are in terms of
corporation tax is going to be reduced to 17%, and that's good. I think that attracts business.
Finally, David Watt from the Institute of Directors.
Thanks very much, Michael, and thanks to Brodies and Sunday Times for inviting me along this morning. It's not often I get invited anywhere, so I'm quite pleased to be out. I'm also exceptionally nervous because I keep saying this, but I'm a Kilmarnock supporter, and this is a big crowd for me, so you forgive me. And also being in Edinburgh, they normally say you'll have had your tea, but this morning it's you'll have had your iron brew, because that's going to be a thing of the past shortly for some of us as well, which is a bit of a shame. Maybe it'll stop our alcohol consumption the Friday night, and iron brew sales will be a bit steadier on the Saturday. Anyway, a few points I'd just make, and maybe divide them into hopes, fears, and other issues as well. My hope is, as powers, as Fiona said, have started to change and will change, that politicians in Scotland and Holyrood have, they will actually start to do something with them, okay? By which I mean not worrying about fox hunting and start worrying about the economy sort of thing, and that's my real hope. Now they're actually accountable for the money that's coming in as well as going out, they'll think about how it comes in. And that's a massive step for 129 of them along the road in Holyrood, if I'm quite honest with you. Because most of the time, spending money we can all do, earning money and thinking how that economy is created to give us the wealth to spend is a real big problem. And a really different focus completely for the politicians. And I hope we'll see that during the manifestos and during the election run-up. I'm not optimistic, but I hope that's what will happen. We need to focus on driving forward productivity. The Chancellor mentioned it many times yesterday. But while government can't do all of that, it can do some things that are substantial. One of the things that Jim's done, as we were talking earlier about Ferguson's and other places, is invest. Government needs to invest. Investing into the infrastructure of the economy does make a massive difference in terms of what comes out the other end. And to be fair, Scottish Government recently has done very well with the Forth Crossing and railways. We're the only part of Britain where we've seen railway lines open, so there have been some really good moves. So that investment needs to keep going, and we need to continue with innovation and driving this small economy harder. Whether you believe in independence or not is sort of irrelevant. You want a strong economy. And probably if you believe in independence, you want it to be even stronger, because probably that's why we didn't vote for it the last time. So we need to really focus on wealth creation and what we can do with these new powers to create wealth. And that needs completely thought about. And as said, I rather shocked one of Fiona's senior colleagues recently by saying, when you're drawing up your manifesto, what's the number one thing? The number one thing is putting the economy literally top of the tree and getting everybody to talk about that. Not just talk about fairness and equality, but talk about the economy and how that drives the equality. And Jim mentioned something else about vocational education as well. We discussed earlier on. A refocus in education and getting people into the workforce is really important. And it's not just about going to university. I've been in the IOD, scary now, 12 years, and I've never once had anybody knock on my door and say, I can't find a graduate. But I do get them saying, I can't find an apprentice or a mass spectrometer technician, if I even say it, or somebody with basic IT skills. All the time they say that to me. Daily people say that to me. So why are we sending all these people to university and they go and they work in Tesco's? You know, we need to think about what we're actually doing with the resources we have in the future. So I've got some real fears that we won't use these taxes in that way. We won't talk about wealth, and there's been very little wealth creation, there's been very little conversation about it already. We'll continue to focus on taxing the wealthy. As Jim said, a very mobile, wealthy population that we don't actually have many of at all. Both SNP and Labour Party have made it absolutely clear that when they get full tax powers, they will increase the tax rate back from 45 to 50p. Every accountant in the world, and I've talked to some of the top literally in the world, will tell you that the tax take will go down. I've challenged the parties, and both of them realise the tax take will go down by putting it from 45p to 50, but we've still got to do it to send out a message. That's really good economics, isn't it? Okay, it's crazy, but they're both going to do it. Take less money in. How does that help create wealth? How does that help for investment in infrastructure? We've also had a very early taste of how, when we look at land and building transaction tax, for example, again, we're hurting the wealthy, okay? And already been, and next thing, the council tax proposal the First Minister came out with, again, we're going to hit the wealthy. Now, that's great if you've got wealthy people. We don't have wealthy people in this country. Okay? We, at best, according to David Glenn from PwC, have 12,000 people who pay 45p. 12,000 of them. Now, you can tax them till they bleed. A, they'll emigrate to England, Ireland or wherever, right? And B, even if you tax them to bleed, you won't get much money out of them anyway. It won't make any difference. The only way to raise tax in Scotland is to tax all of us. And we don't want to do that because of equality and other issues as well. And I can understand that politically, but you've got to think it through where you're actually going to get your money in. And taxing rich people isn't going to get you any money in. Ask any economist. Okay? And all the early signs, as I say, and the thing where we have the powers already is it's taxing this group of mythical wealthy people. Maybe you're some of them, but there's not many of us in Scotland. And I'm not one of them either, by the way. Contrary to common belief. What I would like to see us also doing is look at service delivery, look at reducing the size of the state and how we deliver the state. I'm not saying we don't need social care, fantastic health service, fantastic education service, but we don't need to do it all the same way. We certainly don't need 32 local authorities and all the administrations. And we need to have a real look at how we spend that money and then balance it out with how it comes in. We really need to seriously do that, and I hope that's what will be part of the conversation. Other things to throw into the pot, I think Jim spoke very well about welfare. Welfare to work programme doesn't work because it's not about welfare and it's not about work. Okay? It is related to benefits, and when that comes along, that will be important. Well, that's a poison challenge in itself, I've got to say. But we need to focus welfare and benefit system on getting people into work, because for most people, that's what they actually want. And people who are far away from the workforce often have other complex problems related to drug, drink, and various other issues. Lack of social and affordable housing is tied into that pot as well. So it's very complicated, and that's where the Scottish Government certainly can intervene effectively, but it has to be joined up. And even where they don't have the powers, government departments in Scotland have to work with government departments in Westminster to get it properly delivered. Again, a point Jim made very well, I think. Air passenger duty, personally, I'd do away with it tomorrow. Scots are doubly disadvantaged. You know, if you fly through London, for example, you pay it twice. And for small businesses trying to export, and we're talking about exporting, it's a massively damaging tax. So there's other ways. Do you know that when you fly out of Edinburgh Airport, you pay more to the government, to George Osborne, than you do to Gordon Dewar? And that's a crazy system we've got. It's just got to stop. Yeah, as I said, we have to look at alternative delivery methods and think about what we're going to do in the future. And the other thing we have to do is look at the future. We have to plan for Scotland, not just for 5 years for political expediency, but really actually, I would set up a future unit and use some of the very bright people we've got and some of the top business people we've got to actually look at how Scotland's going to develop as a country. So as we don't end up in 5 years' time again saying we don't have enough engineers, we don't have enough IT people. Let's plan our workforce and our economy much better for the future and actually think about it in a more constructive manner as well. And for us, at IOD, that's about improving the quality of leadership and direction as well. That's really important. And I think we should all get together in doing that. So these are my fairy thoughts. I'm optimistic. Big question mark, I've got to say. But we can discuss that. Thank you.
Thank our panel for taking time.
University
As Jim said, a very mobile wealth.
But of course, if you look at where we are in terms of
Corporation tax is going to be reduced to 17%, and that's good. I think that attracts businesses.